vacation spots in the Caribbean. So head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled, Can You Afford to Snowbird? Mike, the first decision that someone needs to make if they're trying to figure out if they should move to a second place is whether or not they should be buying or renting. How do they make that decision?
It is probably the first one once you get past the idea that you want to get out of the Northeast in the middle of winter, in the middle of January. Once you've come to that conclusion, that's the next logical step. It comes down to a number of different factors, but the tough part about buying is that there's a lot of permanence associated with it. Not that you can't reverse that decision, but if it's your first time going and trying out a new space, oftentimes renting can be the more appealing decision there when it comes to spending some time outside of your primary residence. Obviously, you're not worried about the maintenance costs and everything else associated with it. All of that having been said, there is something to owning a piece of property, knowing that it's yours and knowing that you'll be able to return to the same place over and over again. You might have the best relationship in the world with the person who is renting you their home for those 3 months a year. But when push comes to shove, if that person needs to sell that property and move on to a different tenant, they're going to do so. So it requires some thinking and real consideration, especially if this is your first time making the consideration to snowbird.
Our guide this month is titled, Can You Afford to Snowbird? And there are two ways that you can request it. First, you can call 800-393-4001. Second option, you can go and download it at armstrongadvisory.com. Either way, it doesn't cost you anything. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Can you afford $15,000 a month for a nursing home? If not, you need to call Cushing & Dolan and get the new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Don't let a nursing home stay clean out your savings. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zada and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends, plus breaking business news every day. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zada and Mike Armstrong.
Welcome to the Financial Exchange. Hope everybody out there had a nice, relaxing, restful, long weekend if you got the day off yesterday. And, we're back at it, and markets are open and in mixed territory to start the day as we continue through a busy earnings week. Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs reported. We have United Airlines and several others today. And then throughout the whole week, we'll be seeing, we'll be hearing from a number of different companies across the spectrum. We have Davos kicking off this week, so we'll be hearing from the wealthiest elite on how they feel about the economy. But we will start off with what I saw as really the breaking news yesterday, carrying into today, which is some announcements from China, which in and of themselves, not terribly surprising, but in the, compared to where we were 5 years ago with China and their economic growth, I think this does come as a big surprise. So the announcement was that for the first time in 60 some odd years, population in China shrank since first time since the early 1960s, when we had the massive famine across China and a very different economic scenario. The population in China fell by 850,000 to 1.412 billion people. Again, this is data coming out of China from the National Bureau of Statistics. And so I think first and foremost, we'll talk about the demographics and what's being reported. But I think equally important when you hear news like this is, why is China telling you this information right now when it's generally assumed that a lot of the statistics that come out of China when it comes to things like, well, for instance, how many people are being hospitalized due to COVID right now? Even the World Health Organization has had the guts to stand up to China and say, hey, we don't really think you're reporting this information terribly accurately. So why now? Why are they bringing this up today? But to cover some of the basics, the birth rate has been declining for years. As of a few years ago, they thought that they might be facing a shrinking population by 2030. That was the predictions that had been put out just a few years ago. Then it was revised, maybe by 2025. And now, I think with a mixture of different factors, COVID included, admitting that, hey, the population is in fact shrinking in China a lot faster than most anybody had anticipated.
Yeah, you have to expect that. Even so, it probably more so in this next upcoming year, right? I mean, there could be a lot of
in
deaths
2023
in China. Yeah. And, what's been happening in most recent years is the number of deaths. There's been kind of about the same number of births, right? So that's kind of where they have been. But, in contrast, this is the one thing to keep in mind. China is no longer going to be the most populated country now because India
moving faster,
right? So let's put that into some sort of context. In 2023, it's likely that China will experience about 10 million births, while India, on the other hand, will experience about 23 million births. Wow. So twice as many new Indians versus Chinese. And, I think what it comes down to is a shift in the culture in China, a big change to the demographics of how many males and females, and, just the idea that they'd limited birth for so long, they have a much older population. So that confluence of factors is resulting in them have a shrinking population, and that's going to impact their economy for probably the next 30 years.
The demographics are actually pretty shocking. We do not consider the United States and China to be demographically all that similar, but I just want to read out some of these numbers here, and I believe these are from 2021. Median age in China, 38.4. Median age in the United States, 38.5.
Wow.
Percentage of the population under the age of 20 in China, 23.3%. United States, 24.7.
No kidding.
The life expectancy, I'm not sure I really buy this number, but in China, 78.1. In the United States, 77.4. Might be one of those that gets fudged. Any of these could be.
Well, not to mention, I think we had a tick down in our life expectancy because we were fully exposed to COVID, so they may see a tick down a year from now. Compare
those demographics to India. So I mentioned the median age in the United States and China is both around about 38.5. India, 28.7. The percentage of the population under the age of 20 in China and the United States, 23 to 24.5. India, nearly 35% of the population under the age of 20.
Wow.
Life expectancy in India, a fair bit shorter, 70 years as opposed to 77, 78. But clearly a different trend starting to compile in a country like India in terms of where you could see that next potential boom for labor and countries trying to refocus their efforts. Although it should be stated that the population growth of China over the last 60 years was certainly not the only factor that contributed to a lot of manufacturing occurring there.
Yeah, and what is the problem with a shrinking demographic? Well,
ask Italy or Japan.
Exactly right.
Or
just to Mike's point, go ask Italy. There was some instances a while back in Italy where there were towns that would give you a house. Come here, we will give you a house. Please just live here. Well, think about what's already been happening in China in the real estate market. Well, if you're 70 years old, are you going to seek out a new residence chances are not good, right? So, just from a real estate perspective, as your economy ages or your demographic ages, you're impacting the real estate sector. If you're, a 65-year-old Chinese retiree, are you going to rush out and get the most newest technology? I want that new iPhone. No, you're not going to tend to do that, right? That's a younger man's game, generally speaking. So, those are the types of pressures that a country with such aging demographics will face.
Yeah, Italy, now, for the record, Italy is in a very different spot. Their median age is 46 and a half years old, and the population under 20 is less than a fifth, 17.5%. So very different, but you can see where that trend goes. And furthermore, regardless of just China attempting to develop a larger middle class, a consumption-based economy more similar to what we have in the United States, take a look at any social program, right? You think about Social Security in the United States. If you have a larger population over the age of 60 than you do a younger population that's contributing to those programs, you're going to lead to problems with just keeping things up and afloat, and that's what you are experiencing in places like China, where they're needing to import labor for senior care and things along those lines. Because did I say China or Japan? I meant Japan. I don't know what I said there, but it can lead to very significant demographic problems. But this was certainly on everyone's radar. But again, it was only in 2016 that Beijing actually abolished its one-child policy that had been around for decades.
Right. And that causes other problems. That idea that one child, well, they do have, and I don't know exactly what the statistics are, but a lot more males than females, right? So all of a sudden, it's hard to keep up that birth rate, and it causes societal issues too, right? If let's face it, Mike, men tend to be a little bit more rowdy, and it's true. So if you have, look at countries that have a lot of males that are, not married, they do tend to have some societal issues that could otherwise be tamed by the spouses.
So, look, I mean, all of this is to say, I don't think any of this is cause for immediate concern in China. This is something they've been dealing with for years, and it's just been getting pulled forward, I think in part due to COVID lockdowns and the resulting health outcomes in 2023, I think are going to be fascinating to see how all of this impacts things. But it has come a lot sooner than I think anyone in China anticipated, and the impacts over the next 30 years are what's going to be particularly confounding. The other very interesting piece that I think when it comes to U.S. and China relations, just the similarities among our demographics aside, data from the United States government through November suggests that imports and exports in 2022 are going to add up to an all-time high between the United States and China.
Which is amazing, right? You think about what we've gone through. We think about some of the rhetoric out there about, make sure you're buying in the U.S. Some of that happens in China. We've
Bring manufacturing back to the United States, semiconductors, healthcare products. We don't want to be importing that stuff from China anymore.
But we still like we like cheap stuff. Let's face it, right? I mean, look, all right, here's an example. You hear me talk about it. I like to buy in the U.S. Yep. I really try and focus on it. I wanted something as simple as a flashlight, Mike. It's simple, right? It's a darn flashlight.
Yeah, you can't buy that in the United States.
To buy a mag light made in the United States,
you have to buy
it was
used one from the 1920s.
It was $120. You can buy another flashlight for about $30, comparable, made in China. What I can tell you is I'm still walking in the dark, okay? That's what I can tell you, okay? But look at the big difference.
Yeah, I struggle with this one because I, like you, would like to see that push. I don't really feel that I care a whole lot where my next flashlight's going to be. I don't really care a whole lot where my next wallet's going to come from. I care significantly about where my drugs are going to come from.
Yep.
Which
yeah. Mike, what are we speaking
I care significantly about where my pharmaceuticals are going to come from, right. My vaccines, all of those things I desperately want to manufacture in the United States. Any equipment that's going to go into U.S. weapons manufacturing, I want that done in the United States, maybe Canada or some other close allies. And semiconductors. I think that all of these things are very important to be done in the United States. whether my next wallet or t-shirt or flashlight or television comes from China, South Korea, India, I don't really care. I'm going to go for the lowest cost product. And that seems to be what's shining through here, is that in the absence of legislation to prevent it, markets are going to move towards the cheapest manufacturer. And that's always been the case. And there's nothing about the last couple of years, apparently, that have taught companies otherwise.
And really, Mike, what you're describing here is, or not necessarily what you're describing, but what is at play here is free markets, right? I mean, that's kind of the whole concept is if China can produce it the cheapest, let them produce it the cheapest. If you're a U.S. company, what are you going to do? You're going to continue to produce a product here at these, increased labor costs, or are you going to go elsewhere so that you can sell more of your product? And that's just simply what's happened.
If I'm going to answer my shareholders in the next quarterly call and try and explain to them why I decided to move manufacturing in the United States for 4x the cost, I better have a real good reason, real good explanation.
Well, I'm still going to wait off on my flashlight.
Sounds good. Good. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, Davos kicking off. Who's there? Who's not? What does it all mean? What's the outlook on the global economy? We'll cover that and more next on the Financial Exchange.
Wall Street's volatility continues as the threat of a recession lingers. Breaking business news all morning long, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
If you're thinking of becoming a snowbird, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan to make it happen. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you are getting ready to retire or already there, it's important to take a closer look at your current income sources and expenses if you're trying to determine whether there's room in your budget to snowbird and remain as financially comfortable as possible. Even while you're snowbirding, you can't forget your permanent home because your overall costs can add up and you might find yourself in a difficult position when it comes to your expenses. If you'd like a copy of our brand new guide called Can You Afford to Snowbird, you can call us right now at 800-393-4001. Again, the name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird, and it's available at 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Veterans benefits just got a whole lot better. Whether you're about to leave the service or you've been out for decades, the PACT Act gives eligibility for VA benefits to thousands of veterans. The PACT Act is a new law that expands benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. To learn more, visit va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MY-VA-411. If you or a loved one served this country, it's time to get the benefits you deserve.
An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
This is Tucker Silva, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange legal quick tip of the day. And we're talking about last-minute nursing home lessons that can help save your assets. What can be done last minute to save your home and your liquid assets when one spouse is entering the nursing home?
So with a married couple, you do have more options than as a single person, but with a married couple, your home is not at risk because the community spouse living in the home is allowed to keep the home. Doesn't matter the value, as long as they're living there, it's not countable and non-lienable. They also give the healthy spouse about $135,000 to keep. It's not a lot when you think of the big picture, but all the rest of the money would be at risk, but at least a quick last-minute way of protecting all those other dollars, all over and above that $135,000, would be to basically transfer the assets, those excess assets, to the community spouse, which, by the way, is not a disqualifying transfer, so no 5-year waiting period. And then once that community spouse gets those assets, depending on their age, they can buy what is known as a Medicaid qualifying annuity. These are special annuities. They convert the excess assets into an income stream, and then it's no longer an asset, keeping the community spouse over assets. Then the community spouse and the sick spouse are under assets, and they're eligible for Medicaid.
Cushing and Dolan has written a brand new guide, especially for those of you who have put off doing your planning and are now faced with a last-minute nursing home situation. Request this brand new guide from Cushing and Dolan at 866-848-5699. It's called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. 866-848-5699. Or if you prefer, you can simply go to their website, legalexchangeshow.com, and request it there.
The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing and Dolan. Cushing and Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Wall Street Watch, a full update on the market's performance to date. Weekdays at 10:30, only here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
This segment of the Financial Exchange is brought to you in part by the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John are the perfect place for your next vacation. Enjoy first-class resorts, exquisite cuisine, perfect temperatures all year round, and fall naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. No passport is needed, and there are no more domestic travel requirements to enter. Come to America's Caribbean Paradise. Go to visitusvi.com to book your trip. That's visitusvi.com.
Well, it's that wonderful time of the year when the wealthiest 0.001% of the world gather in Switzerland and talk about things that they probably have no real idea how they work, given that they haven't gone to a grocery store in 30 years. But I kid. This is the gathering in Davos of the World Economic Forum, some of the biggest corporate leaders in the world, some government leaders joining, and the indications that I've heard from both the Wall Street Journal, The Economist, and a few other places are that the mood is a bit somber there, as one would expect when 60+% of global economists believe that we're going to go into recession in 2023. Although there might be other reasons that I'm just thinking of. One, I think Davos has really taken a reputational hit over the last decade in terms of just being this very elitist camp. And to that point, only one G7 leader is actually attending Davos this year.
Oh, really? I didn't
German
realize
Chancellor
that.
Olaf Scholz is the only one from the G7 actually attending.
Okay.
Janet Yellen isn't going. So, from the United States delegation, I think the highest ranking member is the trade delegation from the United States. There's no Russian oligarchs there, so you don't have the money and the big parties going around, which is certainly playing a role. And there's probably no snow there because Europe's had a really light winter. So there's a whole bunch of other factors that might be contributing to the somber mood in Davos. But this event every year does get a pretty big gathering. The last decade, I would say the key focus there has been environmental concerns and how capitalism is working with the environment and working against it. That does not seem to be the concern at this stage. I think clearly the mood has shifted to inflation, how it's hurting the weakest economies in the world, what it's going to do if a global recession occurs, and probably, the Federal Reserve certainly won't be in attendance, but how is U.S. interest rate setting policy impacting the global economy?
Yeah, and I think what I get from the articles I've read, Mike, is simply that, companies are concerned. They are cutting some costs, but a lot of them are very reluctant to cut too deep, because they do feel that, these economy are, the worldwide economies will perhaps in some cases skirt recession, in other cases have a very short and, shallow recession. So they don't want to hurt themselves. And I think these are all real positive signs from my perspective, particularly on top of the fact that, consumer spending in the U.S. is been pretty strong. The unemployment is still at historic lows, so it's not just this really dour, downcast mood. I think it's more overshadowed by concern.
Right. And I think that is what we've been hearing from United States CEOs for the last several quarters. They are concerned about their earnings, they're concerned about recession, but none of them seem to be concerned about a 2008 repeat. Even Jamie Dimon, who last year was calling for this big economic storm on the horizon, came out just the last couple of weeks and was like, I might have overstated some of that stuff. We are not quite as concerned about things as perhaps we were last summer, and really some backtracking there. That having been said, remember who we're hearing from at Davos, right? We are hearing from CEOs of large global organizations. We are not hearing from, the utility company that's trying to purchase oil on the global market in Zimbabwe, who's dealing with all sorts of currency fluctuations in order to power their economy. When we talk about the health of the people speaking at Davos, it's, hey, you're a European, global organization that doesn't see things too bad out there. That's a far cry from, say, some emerging market economies that might take a hit this year.
Emerging market, yeah, but I think you would see some, some oil representation there. And quite frankly, if you look at it, countries in the Middle East, India, they're actually doing okay right now.
Yeah, India's able to buy Russian oil 20% off.
Right.
Middle East is...
Well, we just talked about, they have a younger population.
Sure.
They're still on a growth trajectory.
Yeah, I think there is still, in my mind, a shoe to drop when it comes to how quickly U.S. interest rate policy has impacted things, right? The value of the dollar because of that policy, and just all of those economies that need to purchase all sorts of stuff using the dollar. And so I think there may be another shoe to drop in those economies. But when I take a look at how global CEOs are looking at the outlook for 2023, I agree they're all concerned.
I think, there is concern, but I think there is some glimmers of optimism as well, particularly as it pertains to China opening up, right? I think there is some view that things could be better than forecast if China is able to, really have a good 2023.
Quick break. We'll be covering Davos this week later as well. Wall Street Watch is next.
Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter @TFE Show. Breaking business news is always first, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
If you're thinking of becoming a snowbird, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan to make it happen. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you are getting ready to retire or already there, it's important to take a closer look at your current income sources and expenses if you're trying to determine whether there's room in your budget to snowbird and remain as financially comfortable as possible. Even while you're snowbirding, you can't forget your permanent home because your overall costs can add up and you might find yourself in a difficult position when it comes to your expenses. If you'd like a copy of our brand new guide called Can You Afford to Snowbird, you can call us right now at 800-393-4001. Again, the name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird, and it's available at 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Veterans benefits just got a whole lot better. Whether you're about to leave the service or you've been out for decades, the PACT Act gives eligibility for VA benefits to thousands of veterans. The PACT Act is a new law that expands benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. To learn more, visit va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MY-VA-411. If you or a loved one served this country, it's time to get the benefits you deserve.
An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for, and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean, so head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Hi, it's Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled, Can You Afford to Snowbird? Mike, there's a big list of different costs people have to account for if they're deciding to move to a second place for the winter. What types of things are on that list?
Yeah, certainly are. I mean, first and foremost are the obvious ones. The actual cost to go rent a place or own a second home and maintain that place throughout the year are going to be substantial, especially if you're going to a popular place during a popular period of time. If you're going to Florida from January through March, that's going to be a lot more expensive than snowbirding in Minnesota. I actually have somebody I know who spends half the year in Alaska, half the year in Minnesota. The other big considerations, though, when you are going down there, what type of vacation is this for you? A lot of people, when they go on a true vacation, they're dining out every night. If you're renting a place with a full kitchen, that might not be the case, and you could find some discounts there. Transportation, once you're in that location. Am I driving down? Am I renting a vehicle the entire time? And then what's it actually going to cost to maintain my primary residence while I am not there?
You can't just turn the heat off in the winter up here.
You cannot up here. And so you might be paying somebody to stop by the house on an occasional basis. The cost of plowing if you're not there to remove the snow on your own. So there are a lot of things that go into this that are just above and beyond the simple, can I afford the rental payment?
Our guide is titled, Can You Afford to Snowbird? And there are two different ways that you can request it. First, you can call 800-393-4001. Second option, you can go to armstrongadvisory.com. That phone number again is 800-393-4001, or you can request it at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Time now for Wall Street Watch. A complete look at what's moving markets so far today, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is proudly partnered with VA New England. If you or a loved one serve this country, get the health benefits you earned and deserve. Call 844-VA-CARES. That's 844-VA-CARES. Time now for Wall Street Watch, and markets are in mixed territory as more fourth quarter bank earnings stream in addition to traders monitoring developments from the annual Davos World Economic Forum meeting. At the moment, Dow is off by 229 points, nearly 0.75%. S&P 500 is up by 7 points, and the NASDAQ is 27 points, now 28 points higher in positive territory, or 0.25%. Russell 2000 is up by 2 points as well. 10-year Treasury yield is up by 1 basis point, now at 3.52%, and crude oil is up 1% above $80, now trading at $80.74 a barrel. Goldman Sachs stock is sinking 5% after the bank widely missed earnings forecasts, marking its largest earnings miss since October of 2011 as a result of significant declines in investment banking and asset management revenue. Goldman reported quarterly revenue that also came in slightly below estimates and down 16% from a year ago. Goldman last week announced it would cut 3,200 employees in a cost-cutting initiative. On the other hand, Morgan Stanley posted fourth quarter earnings that were above street forecasts, lifted by the bank's record revenue from wealth management. The financial firm said its wealth management posted net revenues of $6.63 billion last quarter, 6% higher than a year ago. That stock up 6.5% so far today. Meanwhile, shares in Alibaba are down by 1.5% after the Wall Street Journal reported that activist investor Ryan Cohen has built a stake in the company worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Cohen is also privately pushing the Chinese e-commerce giant to accelerate and further boost its share repurchase program. And a couple of stock grade updates for you this morning, where Wells Fargo downgraded Pfizer to equal weight from overweight, noting the pharmaceutical giant needed to reset from the pandemic for shares to work again. That stock is down by 3%. And Roku also received a downgrade from Truist to hold from buy, saying the streaming stock is vulnerable to a challenging macroeconomic environment, seeing that a large portion of revenues are linked to advertising. Roku stock is off by 1.5% so far today. I'm Tucker Silva, and that's Wall Street Watch.
Another day comes and goes, and we've got another poll out there from economists predicting recession. The Wall Street Journal survey seeing that forecasters are predicting a 61% likelihood of recession in the next 12 months. That's down very slightly from October's survey, where the results came in at 63%. Obviously, both of those numbers are pretty historically high. And Wall Street Journal's got a companion piece out here basically instructing workers to get ready for the great rebalancing. The great rebalancing they're talking about there is the imbalance in the labor market. And so talking about the labor market, I think helpful to have some statistics here. We, in the most recent jobs report, added another 225,000 jobs to the labor market, to the economy. As of the November JOLTS report, so that's the job openings labor turnover survey, where they go and ask a whole bunch of employers, how many people you're trying to hire, how many people did you fire. In November, you did see the number year over year that have open jobs tick down a bit. But we're still at nearly 10.5 million job openings. That's down from nearly 11 million back in November of 2021. And you're seeing no meaningful change in separations either. That number of separations is actually down. And so the Wall Street Journal may be correct, and look, my baseline assumption is for higher unemployment, but I continue to say with this labor market, you got to prove it, right? I mean, show me the proof, because so far all of the data tells you that it's still an extremely tight labor market.
Okay, but let's examine, Mike, what the Wall Street Journal is referencing with this great rebalancing. And I see it. I really think that there is some validity. So what the point here is, if you look back in time when the recession started in 2020 due to COVID, people felt pretty darn vulnerable. Like,
yes.
Geez, what's going to happen to me? Well, fast forward. Here they are in 2021, 2022, and they're being thrown money left and
yes.
right. Come work for me. Stay here. I'll give you more money. So, you kind of had this degree of invincibility that a lot of employees felt. Well, that is starting to subside. I really do think that, right? Where folks are looking forward saying, geez, I was the last one into this business, and if there's a recession, I very well could be the first one out, right?
Especially in some of the highest growth areas over the last decade and a half. So the areas that I'm starting to see it most are those that would do anything to attract that next MIT grad over the last decade. It was Google, it was Facebook, it was Salesforce, it was Netflix. We want the next engineer. We don't want them going into structural engineering. We want them to come to us and code for us and build the next platform to grow all these users. That's where you're starting to see the weakness. I agree.
But see, I still think in the psyche of most workers today, I think there is a degree of concern built in for the future that they're a little bit more reticent to simply say, oh, yeah, I can absolutely find another job making the wage that I want to make, and I'm going to push the envelope here.
I'm not sure.
No?
So I'm not sure about your comment most.
Okay.
I agree that
Many.
there are many. I think certainly if you're making over $100,000 a year, I think that concern is probably exacerbated. If you're in a white-collar job, there's been a lot of talk of the rich session and these types of careers that saw big bumps and generally more security during downturns. I'm concerned there. If I'm a bartender, if I'm a waiter, if I am working in retail or really any of the lower healthcare, for example, do I have any concerns about job security in any of those roles? I don't think I would.
Probably not. And that's not really where I would view the quiet quitters, right? I think it's that population that felt, invincible. That's perhaps, Mike, I think, you're right in that if you're kind of on the, that service sector, there's probably still a lot of demand out there. But if you're in that middle range of, income where it's so important to you and your family, before you felt like, oh, well, they're not going to get any more out of me than I'm willing to give. And as a matter of fact, I'm kind of done with this. Well, I think you're starting to have a double take on that.
The contrary piece of evidence to that is, were that nervousness there and were there big concerns about the economy, I would have anticipated the labor force participation rate for those over the age of 55 to start to tick back up, right? If we talk about the workers that are missing today in the labor force, at this point, it's generally those that were over the age of 55. They largely dropped out, retired early.
They retired early.
And I've seen no evidence that they're coming back.
But isn't that a different concept, right? I mean, if you've checked out, you've checked out. But if you're still in the labor force and you don't feel you are financially able to check out of the labor force, you need to have your job. I think you're thinking twice about this quiet quitting, thinking twice about, leaving the stability.
Yeah, I don't know. I would have expected a lot more of those people to feel that they were in the financially sound position when the S&P 500 was at 4,700 than 4,000. I would have, if I had seen the number of people retiring and saying, yeah, I'm in a good enough financial position, and then you told me the S&P 500 was going to go down by 20%, I would have expected more people to come back into the labor force in that demographic than we have seen.
Yeah, I think this pandemic has just really skewed people's feelings on where their life is, and I think there's some people that are willing to take a little lesser quality of life in retirement in exchange for simply not having to work anymore.
Could be, and I certainly can't fault them. I'm not here to throw stones.
No,
I completely get the desire to retire over the last couple of years and not go back. I'm merely surprised that they've had enough cash and income to do so.
Right.
Just purely fundamentally, I'm surprised, but that's where this economy is very strange, right? I mean, yeah, inflation's at 50 years high. Not if you're locked into a 3% mortgage, and not if you're getting a big COLA from Social Security right now.
Right.
If you're in those categories, you might not be experiencing this same economy in the way that others are. So it's a very big difference, and how it's going to impact the labor market, I think, is anybody's guess. But I am generally concluding the same thing that the Wall Street Journal is, which is, yeah, if you're anticipating the labor market's going to look the same in 2023 as it did in 2021 and 2022, I think you're in for a surprise, especially if you are in some of those more economically sensitive areas. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about one more important area of the labor market, which is non-compete clauses. Been getting a lot of attention recently. We'll talk about why next on the Financial Exchange.
The latest news on inflation and how the markets are reacting every morning, right here on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. According to Genworth, New England residents could see yearly costs of more than $200,000 by 2030. So if you haven't done your planning yet, now is the time to call Cushing & Dolan. They're experts in estate planning and asset protection, which is critical if you want to enjoy your retirement years. Get their new free guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. If you or a loved one might need a nursing home, don't delay. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide, Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean, so head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
If you're thinking of becoming a snowbird, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan to make it happen. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you are getting ready to retire or already there, it's important to take a closer look at your current income sources and expenses if you're trying to determine whether there's room in your budget to snowbird and remain as financially comfortable as possible. Even while you're snowbirding, you can't forget your permanent home because your overall costs can add up and you might find yourself in a difficult position when it comes to your expenses. If you'd like a copy of our brand new guide called Can You Afford to Snowbird, you can call us right now at 800-393-4001. Again, the name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird, and it's available at 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Veterans benefits just got a whole lot better. Whether you're about to leave the service or you've been out for decades, the PACT Act gives eligibility for VA benefits to thousands of veterans. The PACT Act is a new law that expands benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. To learn more, visit va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MY-VA-411. If you or a loved one served this country, it's time to get the benefits you deserve.
An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and/or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. For your chance to win our daily trivia contest, text us at 617-362-1385 and use keyword ENCORE. Complete rules are available at financialexchangeshow.com. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Well, last week the FTC came out with a proposed new rule. It's a proposal that came in response to President Biden's executive order back in 2021 to take a look at different areas of the labor market and non-compete specifically. Allegedly, FTC planning to completely ban non-compete clauses across the economy, which I'm not going to focus on whether or not that's potential overreach. It sounds like it would be a lot of overreach from an agency, but let's focus instead on the impact of non-competes.
But let's speak to that for a minute, because today non-competes are upheld by state government. Right. So, California and Oklahoma, for example, says that basically they're unenforceable in almost all employment contracts. You can't use them at all.
Hawaii has some very specific rules, as does Massachusetts. But, hypothetically, Congress could absolutely pass a law and say, nope, non-competes are against the law across the country and not allowed anymore.
Considering 1 in 5, Mike, workers today do have a non-compete. 1 in 5.
That is where, look, I do think that this is overreach by the FTC. I'm not sure that it's going to be enforceable, but I have a serious problem with the state of our labor force where 20% of workers are currently covered by non-compete clauses.
Mike, if you own a Dunkin' Donuts, you don't want them going to Starbucks.
Yeah, because then you have to pay somebody else more. It's not because you're worried about losing your secret sauce when it comes to your Dunkin' iced coffee. That's not what it's about. Furthermore, 30% of those workers who are covered by a non-compete are making less than $13 an hour.
Can you imagine? I can't go to work at another coffee shop because I have a non-compete.
I
Dunkin'
can't go
Donuts.
from Subway to Jimmy John's because of my stupid non-compete. And
by the way, we have no idea if that Jimmy John's
I
or
don't.
Dunkin's
I'm making
or
up all of
Starbucks.
these.
These are absolutely made up.
But that is the part that's absolutely preposterous. I do think that there are plenty of situations where having a non-compete makes all the sense in the world. If you were a C-suite level executive with trade secrets to the firm and you're getting paid a more than reasonable compensation, then yeah, having a non-compete in there where you can't go join a competitor a couple of years after you are bought out, all the sense in the world. I'm perfectly okay with that.
It makes good sense, but the premise here, right, why the government is saying, hey, we want to do away with it, because they do view these non-competes as hampering competition. They hold back innovation and entrepreneurship, right?
And I think, furthermore, they're abused. And let me give you an example, right? If you're making $13 an hour, maybe that non-compete in your state is completely unenforceable.
Right.
But are you going to go hire an attorney to go sue your employer and say, hey, this is unenforceable. I can go work wherever I want? No, 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to cave and say, okay, I'll stay here at $13 an hour rather than taking that job that I was hoping would get me $16 an hour. If you're a hairdresser or if you are a mechanic, all of these are situations that I know use heavy frequency of non-compete clauses, and I think that's preposterous. So I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if the solution is saying, hey, you need to have income over a certain amount above the poverty level for a non-compete clause to be enforceable. It must be full-time employment. It must be only a certain. One example that Chuck brought up was maybe only shareholders, so owner/employees of a company can have a non-compete, and that's it. I don't have the perfect solution here, but if I had to choose between no non-competes or non-competes as they're being used today, I would probably take no non-competes allowed.
No non-competes across the board.
Yeah.
And just let people work.
Just
let
it ride.
You've heard me before. I'm big into more of a laissez-faire approach to governing, so get out of my stuff.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is this is a law that would get directly into businesses stuff, right? I mean, a non-compete. I hear you.
Look, if you don't want to work for the company, and you're not willing to sign the non-compete, then don't go to work for them.
Yeah,
that's my perspective.
Yeah,
I just don't like the consistent or constant, more legislation.
I hear you. This part of the non-compete stuff really bothers me. I don't have the perfect solution to it. But I certainly don't think that 1/5 of workers are so imperative to that company and their trade secrets that they should be covered by a non-compete.
Yeah,
it's just preposterous to me.
I'd really, I know it's in this Wall Street Journal article here saying that, baristas and, school teachers and janitors have some sort of non-compete. I'd really like to see an example.
If you're covered by a non-compete, we would love to hear from you. You can text the show at whatever number it is.
617-362-1385.
I think they're pretty prevalent, and
particularly if you're a barista or a janitor.
Yeah.
That's the ones I want to hear from.
Brandon wants to hear from you.
The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands, because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean, so head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean Paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Brandon, have you gone skiing this season?
I have not yet. Hopefully this weekend we'll strap the boards on.
Would you usually have gone skiing at this point in the season?
I
know you spend more time up north than I do.
Yeah, in the
personally.
last, 10 years or so, it's
Slowing
been hard
down.
to do. Well, no, I'm not slowing
Knees.
down. No, not the knees. No, the weather. Here's the thing about skiing, right? Usually if you don't have snow in your backyard, you're not really like pumped up to go up into the mountains. So usually I do wait until after the holidays and, give it a couple weeks, make sure the conditions are reasonably decent.
Well, what's bad news for the ski resorts has been good news for, everybody that uses any heating source to heat their homes. It's been pretty fortunate there, but this warm spell that we've been experiencing here in the Northeast has pushed down diesel distillate fuels, home heating fuels by 23% from the November highs that we saw. So a little bit of good news that we're seeing both in the Northeast and across Europe, which we will take when looking for good news in 2023. Quick break, but a lot more to cover in the second hour of the Financial Exchange. We'll be right back.
This is Tucker Silva, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange legal quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about last-minute nursing home lessons that can help save your assets. Todd, more and more people are providing in-home care for their loved ones. Is there anything a care provider can do that would be beneficial to them or the family?
So if you're already providing care for an individual at home, and more people, as you said, are in fact doing that, the best thing to do is to set up a personal care contract, right? A personal care contract is something that allows you to get paid by your family member, and as long as you report it on your income tax return and prepare a personal care contract, make sure you get an elder law lawyer to help you prepare that contract because it's got to be done right. But if you do those two things, get the contract and provide the care and put the income on your income tax return, the transfers are non-disqualifying transfers. So even if you don't make the 5 years, those dollars that you're moving will not need to be returned and they will be protected. Also, while you're doing that, set up the trust and get the 5-year clock started. Put some assets in because you just never know if you're going to make it or not, and you would always want to have that 5-year clock running to protect your assets.
Cushing & Dolan has written a brand new guide especially for those of you who have put off doing your planning and are now faced with a last-minute nursing home situation. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. You can call 866-848-5699, or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. Once again, simply call 866-848-5699, or get it from their website at legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
It's easy to imagine a move to a warmer climate for just a few months each year, but you need to have a sound financial plan in place if it's going to work. If you're thinking of buying a new place in Florida, you need to be sure you can afford another down payment. Perhaps you've thought about buying and then renting to a tenant, or maybe you just want to rent a place for yourself. Regardless of which way you decide to go, having a solid financial strategy is necessary. When it comes to snowbirding, there are a lot of moving parts. In this month's new guide, titled Can You Afford to Snowbird, we'll walk you through ways to make sure you understand how to build a strong plan that can take you away from the cold. Get your free copy today by calling 800-393-4001. That's 800-393-4001, or you can request the guide at armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
This is the Money Matters Radio Network, WBNW 1120 AM and W275 CM FM, Concord, Boston. The Money Matters Radio Network. The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean. So head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
Veterans benefits just got a whole lot better. Whether you're about to leave the service or you've been out for decades, the PACT Act gives eligibility for VA benefits to thousands of veterans. The PACT Act is a new law that expands benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. To learn more, visit va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MY-VA-411. If you or a loved one served this country, it's time to get the benefits you deserve.
An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Hi, this is Chuck and Mike from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and we have a guide available this month titled, Can You Afford to Snowbird? Mike, the first decision that someone needs to make if they're trying to figure out if they should move to a second place is whether or not they should be buying or renting. How do they make that decision?
Yeah, it is probably the first one once you get past the idea that you want to get out of the Northeast in the middle of winter, in the middle of January. Once you've come to that conclusion, that's the next logical step. It comes down to a number of different factors, but the tough part about buying is that there's a lot of permanence associated with it. Not that you can't reverse that decision, but if it's your first time going and trying out a new space, oftentimes renting can be the more appealing decision there when it comes to spending some time outside of your primary residence. Obviously, you're not worried about the maintenance costs and everything else associated with it. All of that having been said, there is something to owning a piece of property, knowing that it's yours and knowing that you'll be able to return to the same place over and over again. You might have the best relationship in the world with the person who is renting you their home for those 3 months a year, but when push comes to shove, if that person needs to sell that property and move on to a different tenant, they're going to do so. So it requires some thinking and real consideration, especially if this is your first time making the consideration to snowbird.
Our guide this month is titled, Can You Afford to Snowbird? And there are two ways that you can request it. First, you can call 800-393-4001. Second option, you can go and download it at armstrongadvisory.com. Either way, it doesn't cost you anything. That number again is 800-393-4001.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. Can you afford $15,000 a month for a nursing home? If not, you need to call Cushing & Dolan and get their new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Don't let a nursing home stay clean out your savings. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The Financial Exchange is produced by Money Matters Radio and is hosted by employees of the Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor that provides investment advisory services. All opinions expressed are solely those of the hosts, do not reflect the opinions of Armstrong Advisory or anyone else, and do not guarantee profit. Investments can lose money. This program does not offer any specific financial or investment advice. Please consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong and Money Matters Radio do not compensate each other for referrals and are not affiliated. This is the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zada and Mike Armstrong. Your exclusive look at business and financial news affecting your day, your city, your world. Stay informed and up to date about economic and market trends. Plus, get breaking business news every day. The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. You too can support our great American heroes by visiting financialexchangeshow.com/DAV. And now, it's time for the Financial Exchange with Chuck Zada and Mike Armstrong.
Welcome back to the Financial Exchange. Mike Armstrong, Brendan Hayes, and Tucker Silva with you on a morning with busy week here. We're in the midst of earnings season, so we'll be hearing from a number of different companies, a lot of heavy financial companies this week. We've got Davos, the World Economic Forum, kicking off in Switzerland right now, and then the breaking news over the weekend, China disclosing that they just saw for the first time since the 1960s their population drop in 2022. And quite frankly, as Brendan pointed out, that could get a lot worse in 2023. And I do wonder how much of that is impacting things like, this could have been something that we might have been able to sweep under the rug if we weren't reopening our economy and dealing with, surges in COVID cases. With that in the backdrop, it's going to be pretty difficult to hide the fact that our population is in fact shrinking.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well, what is the benefit to them, Mike, of hiding that? Is it simply projecting strength that they would?
Yeah, I think it's projecting strength.
But
economic stability.
But I think
you want to relocate your company for the next 50 years here. We're the country to do it. Yeah. Don't even consider India.
Yeah. But I think it was a foregone conclusion that I think by 2030 it was going to happen. Right.
Yep.
So this wasn't something that was totally just in the shadows. It was pretty clear.
So earnings season, as I mentioned, kicking off, and I want to say that there's a fair bit of concern about what earnings are going to look like, but honestly, that's not what I'm seeing being priced into the stock market right now. When you take a look at, for instance, forward price to earnings ratios, we're trading at just a slight discount to where we have been over the last year, for example. And so there's a bit of a question as to what we're going to see this quarter, but the opinion piece from the Bloomberg, from Jonathan Levine here is, hey, might you see a big airing of dirty laundry by corporations, get the bad news all out of the way in one quarter with the hope that you can beat on expectations over the next several quarters?
I don't think we're going to see that. I mean, it's a great concept. It's a nice idea, but I can't really think of the last time companies really took this approach where they just said, hey, everything's going to be horrible, and here's where we are. We did a terrible job over the last couple of years. We hired too many people. We built too many warehouses, and but from here forward, we think things are going to be good.
Yeah.
I just don't see that.
Yeah, I mean, he points out, you could see a drop down to 3,600 on the S&P 500. That'd be, approximately a 10% drop from where we are today. None of these things sound crazy to me, by the way.
No, a 10% drop doesn't sound crazy, but the idea that these companies are going to not sugarcoat things, that's really what it comes down to. Rather than sugarcoat, just kind of present the worst case scenarios. I just don't see them doing that.
Now, the one thing that companies do like to be able to do is beat on forecasted earnings, right? If there's one thing companies are good at, quote unquote, it's 3/4 of the time companies put out projections and then beat those projections of their forecasted earnings. And so I think that will continue. The question is, do you have it get pretty significant here? And I, like you, Brendan, tend to think, no, they'll continue with some of the sugarcoating that you've seen. Around the holidays, for instance, a bunch of retailers saying, well, maybe our sales haven't been as good, but our stores are really well stocked, which we like. Finding those silver linings is what those CEOs tend to be good at. But at the end of the day, they will need to put together their forecast for what they think 2023 will hold. And generally speaking, you don't want to lie and then miss on those expectations, because that's when your stock gets killed.
Yeah, I think Q4 was some of the worst negative. The worst quarter for negative expectations, right, where they weren't hitting them. But to put some context behind this, Mike, generally in a recession, you're going to see earnings drop by anywhere from 20 to 30% from peak to trough. So, these companies are going to have to come in with some pretty low expectations. And it would result in the stock market really taking a hit.
It goes back to the same thing we've been talking about for weeks here, which is companies are nervous. They're worried about recession. But most of them, you're not hearing them say, hey, we're laying off 20% of our work. Like, that is occurring in some very, specific areas. But you don't see big companies coming out and saying, we are so nervous about economic conditions right now that we are laying off 15% of our workforce, that we are completely freezing hiring and, firing 10% of U.S. employees. It's just not happening right now. And I think it speaks to some confidence about what this recession is going to look like.
Because we're not in a recession.
Right.
Things are actually pretty decent.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why all of these things haven't occurred or why they're not saying it, because things aren't terrible.
Let's talk about one area of the market that does look pretty concerning. Frankly, I've been waiting for the shoe to drop on this area of the market for a couple of years now, really, since the beginning of the pandemic.
This is a boot to drop. This isn't a shoe. This is a big, heavy boot.
So Colliers International, a real estate firm, did some research on several different metropolitan areas. I could only really get good data for a couple of them, but in the city of Boston, 17.6% of office space sat empty in the fourth quarter. That's approximately 12 million square feet, or I love this comparison, about 10 Prudential Towers.
Can you imagine?
10 Prudential Towers are vacant.
That really is a visual. 10 of those sitting pretty with nobody in them.
In some of the older office space, Class B office space, if you will, the vacancy rate is closer to 23.6%, according to Colliers. And there's, examples all across the board of where this is coming from. But, one example called out, Bank of America, 196,000 square feet at 225 Franklin Street. No thanks. We're done here. Not renewing. They've got other office space elsewhere. If they're taking the same approach as several other companies, perhaps they're doing a, rotating in-office work schedule where a quarter of the firm is in once a month, in which case you just don't need the same amount of square footage.
And that idea, Mike, that the Class B is at almost a 24% vacancy rate, I mean, that's huge. That's a big number. I think that really speaks to the flight to quality, right? This idea that employers want to in many cases, want to incentivize their employees to come back to the office, and as a result, they want them to feel good about the office. They want them to come to a place that they're comfortable with, that's, clean, shiny, offers amenities.
In Boston as well, there's 3.9 million square feet of space available on the sublease market. Half of it is from tech companies.
Oh, wow.
Found that pretty telling, just in terms of where, this is coming from. But the other market that I looked at, which I think we all know is struggling right now, San Francisco.
Oh, okay.
17.6% vacancy rate in the fourth quarter in Boston, 22.2% vacancy rate in San Francisco.
Wow.
I suspect you are going to see values coming down across the board in a lot of these few areas. It does speak to, though, right? If you're experiencing the worst vacancy rates in your older office buildings, your Class B, your Class C office buildings that need to be updated anyway, convert them.
Right.
Do not go convert it back to office space. The demand's not going to be there. Spend the extra 50% it's going to cost to put kitchens in every 1,000 square feet and build the apartments.
Yeah, think about in that San Fran market, too. All that was tech employees. They're very easily capable of working from home, right? They're easily capable to work from the beaches of Bali. They're going to be there. That's what they want. A lot of them want to be out and about in the world working from remote destinations.
So, we'll see how long all that lasts. I know that the idea is that the employer is going to be in the driver's seat in 2023, and so perhaps more workers are coming back to the office. But yeah, especially among those tech companies, there's just a strong desire from the workers to not go back, and the employers, they're trying to compete for labor and find ways to cut costs that doesn't include reducing headcount, so the office space makes sense to me.
And keep in mind, right, these leases, they're just expiring, right? As we, as time goes along here. So I'm sure there are plenty other leases that are coming due that companies will perhaps step away from.
Tied in news here from the Wall Street Journal, nearly half of all commercial property debt is floating rate. So let's just think about this for a moment here. You've got 17.5% in Boston area of the real estate space that is vacant. I don't think that necessarily means that it's not being paid for.
Right.
But, right, you might still be getting your rental payments, but certainly if the space is vacant, it might indicate to you that you won't be getting those payments for long. So when rates were quite low, you would get insurance on the idea that, hey, if rates fly up, then we'll be protected. Now that rates have moved quite a bit, that insurance is costing quite a bit. But this is a very, very different market from the single-family home market, where I think 95% of mortgages on primary residences are fixed-rate mortgages. Mm-hmm. Half of the debt on commercial properties is floating rate.
And as a result of that, a lot of times the lender will require that borrower to buy some sort of derivatives contract to hedge against that increase. Pretty eye-opening as to the cost associated with it. So, if you're looking back in time, you're looking at a multi-million-dollar mortgage, you could buy that hedge for about $10,000.
Yeah.
Fast forward, you're looking at anywhere from double, but more than likely 10 times as much as it would have cost just a year ago.
It does help me kind of frame the state of this market, though, right? Because I've been speaking for a while that, hey, when are these companies going to really experience these problems? And I think the answer has been they were all hedged against the most recent interest rate move, right? The move that you saw in 2022, a lot of these owners were hedged against that risk. The problem is now that hedge is through. They've made it through that, but now they're trying to deal with these higher interest rates, and that was a one-time purchased hedge, and now those hedges cost another 10x what they used to, or you don't buy the hedge anymore and you're just dealing with a higher interest rate. And so I think my conclusion with all of this is that this is a slow-moving problem, but it is a very big problem.
This is a real big problem in the commercial space. So the Wall Street Journal makes this, draws an example. In 2020, this particular apartment owner took out a $24 million loan, 300 units. It had a 5% cap. It cost $22,000 to hedge. Now, I don't know if this is a mistype, but what they're saying is the new 2-year hedge, it's going to cost them $1 million. So not 10x. We're talking 500 times more to hedge on that loan. So, what are your options, right? If you're the owner of this, the lender's saying, hey, you have to hedge this. You either come up with your own money or you sell it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's pretty easy. So there's going to probably be a lot of that selling going on.
And we saw some of it already, right? We saw some of those private equity funds had to restrict withdrawals earlier last year, right? I mean, that did happen, albeit temporarily. It did happen in some of these spaces. And so I continue to believe that there is some risk out there that's not quite being priced into this commercial real estate market. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, trivia here on the Financial Exchange.
This is your home for the most comprehensive coverage of the economy and the trends on Wall Street. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. According to Genworth, New England residents could see yearly costs of more than $200,000 by 2030. So if you haven't done your planning yet, now is the time to call Cushing & Dolan. They're experts in estate planning and asset protection, which is critical if you want to enjoy your retirement years. Get their new free guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. If you or a loved one might need a nursing home, don't delay. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide, Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean. So head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
If you're thinking of becoming a snowbird, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan to make it happen. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you are getting ready to retire or already there, it's important to take a closer look at your current income sources and expenses if you're trying to determine whether there's room in your budget to snowbird and remain as financially comfortable as possible. Even while you're snowbirding, you can't forget your permanent home because your overall costs can add up and you might find yourself in a difficult position when it comes to your expenses. If you'd like a copy of our brand new guide called Can You Afford to Snowbird, you can call us right now at 800-393-4001. Again, the name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird, and it's available at 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Veterans benefits just got a whole lot better. Whether you're about to leave the service or you've been out for decades, the PACT Act gives eligibility for VA benefits to thousands of veterans. The PACT Act is a new law that expands benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. To learn more, visit va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MY-VA-411. If you or a loved one served this country, it's time to get the benefits you deserve.
An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. Get Cushing & Dolan's new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Call 866-848-5699. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Text us at 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we are covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Time for trivia here on the Financial Exchange, and it's brought to you by Encore Boston Harbor. Visit EncoreBostonHarbor.com and see for yourself why Encore is a Forbes 5-star award winner for both hotel and spa. Well, Jim Carrey is turning 61 years old today, believe it or not. And he's, of course, known for his roles as Ace Ventura, Bruce Almighty, and Lloyd Christmas. Jim Carrey became the first Hollywood actor to be paid $20 million to star in a movie. What was the name of that movie? Once again, Jim Carrey became the first Hollywood actor to be paid $20 million to star in a movie. What was the name of that movie? Be the third person today to text us at our text line 617-362-1385. That's 617-362-1385 with the correct answer, and you'll win a Financial Exchange Show t-shirt and be registered to win a $100 gift card to Encore Boston Harbor. Be sure to include the keyword Encore in your text, and we'll be giving away the Encore gift card on Friday's show. Once again, text line is 617-362-1385, and the third correct response will be our winner. See the complete contest rules at financialexchangeshow.com.
I wanted to talk about a Jim Carrey movie, but now I'm worried I'll screw up the
Yeah,
the
just
answer,
hold
so
off.
I'll just-
Hold off.
I'm trying to think of the last movie
That
that he was in.
Hold off.
Why?
Do it in the next segment.
Why? You think it was most recent?
There's
one?
almost no way that Brendan and I are going to
I have
stumble
no
across
idea,
the right answer.
honestly.
We try and guess at the right answer every time and never get it. There's no way we're going to accidentally get it. The New York Times, or excuse me, the Wall Street Journal, pointing out that a shopper rebellion against higher prices is helping to slow inflation. They point to a few different data points about how consumers are reacting to price increases. But one example, so Conagra, who makes Hunt's Ketchup, Slim Jims, they raise prices pretty much across the board by 17%. the company said that they're done, boosting prices for now. They also saw their sales volumes falling by 8.4% for the quarter that ended November 27th, presumably with a lot of people reacting to those higher prices. And I think there's clearly some of that happening, right? I mean, I certainly get angry when I pay $6 a dozen for my eggs at the grocery store. I feel that. I think there's a lot that goes into how recently these price increases are happening. I think you largely got away with it in 2021 and 2022 unscathed, right? If you put together a price increase in any part of 2021 or the first half of 2022, pretty much everyone, like we ourselves on our show, we're saying like people are willing to deal with it. They have cash to spend. If you're not raising your prices as a company right now, you're an idiot for not doing it because people don't seem to care. They certainly do care now. In latter half of 2022, beginning of 2023, I do think there is some backlash to these prices people are seeing.
Well, yeah, because it's kind of the sum of the whole, right? There's only one paycheck to go around. So when you start to experience that cash flow crunch, right, if you're that guy that, there's a lot of folks, paycheck to paycheck and, you have to make it spread thin. Well, you might not grab that Slim Jim at the checkout counter if you see it's, I really don't know how much they cost. $2.50 versus $2.
Yeah, I don't spend enough
$5
money on Slim Jims
versus
to know.
$3.
It's kind of gross.
They don't agree with me. I don't know. But
I'll go with the beef jerky. I'll eat Jack Links, but I will not. I won't touch the.
No.
The
Okay.
Slim Jims.
Well,
Not for me.
they seem to be very popular.
Yeah. So, to what degree is this actually occurring? Look, I mean, certainly I think there is more traffic at places like Walmart's grocery store because of the price increases you're seeing, and people are flocking towards what have reputations as cheaper grocery stores, whether they are or not. Costco, BJ's, Walmart, dollar stores, etc. I think are seeing more traffic. But I think what I'm looking at is if there are companies, and I remember Walmart was being very public about this over the last couple of years, saying, we're doing everything we can to really advertising how much lower they're keeping prices. And I said at the time, and I still think that in 2021, that was a misstep because now you can't raise those prices. Now you're going to have a very difficult time doing so and sneaking it under the radar. Whereas the last couple of years, if you wanted to bump up the price of that television or those eggs, people barely noticed.
Right. So now I guess the question is the natural progression for a company like Conagra who experienced that 8.5% drop in sales volume, is there a natural progression to say, okay, we raised prices 17%, but, our cost had only gone up by 10.
Right.
Do we now start to drop prices
now's
to
the time
enhance our sales?
That I think that type of ad will sell well.
Right.
Right now, if you come out and say, we're cutting prices across the board, now you're going to do it. Whereas you announced that in 2021 that you weren't increasing prices in spite of nobody cared. Nobody cared. Quick break. We got the
Network. You've worked hard to achieve wealth and prosperity. Don't let an unexpected nursing home stay take it all away. According to Genworth, the average monthly cost for a private room in New England could increase by up to 25% by 2030. If you or a loved one might need nursing home care in the near future and you're not prepared to handle these kinds of costs, you need to call the experts at Cushing & Dolan and get their new guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. In it, you'll learn strategies that can help you protect your assets that you've worked a lifetime to attain. Don't put off today what you might really need to do tomorrow. Call Cushing & Dolan right now at 866-848-5699 and get your free guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request it online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. That's LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean. So head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
If you're thinking of becoming a snowbird, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan to make it happen. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you are getting ready to retire or already there, it's important to take a closer look at your current income sources and expenses if you're trying to determine whether there's room in your budget to snowbird and remain as financially comfortable as possible. Even while you're snowbirding, you can't forget your permanent home because your overall costs can add up and you might find yourself in a difficult position when it comes to your expenses. If you'd like a copy of our brand new guide called Can You Afford to Snowbird, you can call us right now at 800-393-4001. Again, the name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird, and it's available at 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
This is Tucker Silva, and I'm joined today by estate planning attorney Todd Lutzke from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan with your Financial Exchange legal quick tip of the day. And today we're talking about last-minute nursing home lessons that can help save your assets. Todd, more and more people are providing in-home care for their loved ones. Is there anything a care provider can do that would be beneficial to them or the family?
So if you're already providing care for an individual at home, and more people, as you said, are in fact doing that, the best thing to do is to set up a personal care contract, right? A personal care contract is something that allows you to get paid by your family member, and as long as you report it on your income tax return and prepare a personal care contract, make sure you get an elder law lawyer to help you prepare that contract because it's got to be done right. But if you do those two things, get the contract and provide the care and put the income on your income tax return, the transfers are non-disqualifying transfers. So even if you don't make the 5 years, those dollars that you're moving will not need to be returned and they will be protected. Also, while you're doing that, set up the trust and get the 5-year clock started. Put some assets in because you just never know if you're going to make it or not, and you would always want to have that 5-year clock running to protect your assets.
Cushing & Dolan has written a brand new guide especially for those of you who have put off doing your planning and are now faced with a last-minute nursing home situation. Request this brand new guide from Cushing & Dolan. It's called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. You can call 866-848-5699, or you can simply request it from their website, legalexchangeshow.com. Once again, simply call 866-848-5699, or get it from their website at legalexchangeshow.com.
The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing and Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated. Watch the show every day on Twitch TV, Facebook, and our website, financialexchangeshow.com. We're breaking down the biggest business stories of the day only on the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Jim Carrey became the first Hollywood actor to be paid $20 million to star in a movie. What was the name of that movie? Well, Brendan, in the break, you guessed Dumb and Dumber, right?
I did.
And Mike, your guess was what?
I jokingly said The Cable Guy.
That's the correct answer,
What?
The Cable Guy.
Oh, you said it wasn't.
I didn't say that. In 1996, Jim Carrey became the first actor to be paid $20 million in upfront fees to star in a movie. Just 3 years earlier, Jim Carrey was paid $350,000 for his breakout role as Ace Ventura. And our winner today was James from Reading, Mass., and he's taking home that Financial Exchange Show t-shirt. And he's also registered to win a $100 gift card to Encore Boston Harbor. And we'll be giving away that gift card on Friday's show. And trivia is brought to you by Encore Boston Harbor. Visit EncoreBostonHarbor.com and see for yourself why Encore is a Forbes 5-star award winner for both hotel and spa. Let me throw a bonus one at you guys.
All right.
How much was Jeff Daniels paid for his role as Harry in Dumb and Dumber?
$250,000.
$600,000.
$50,000. And he wanted to do it that bad with Jim Carrey and be in a comedy role because Jeff Daniels was always a drama, known for his drama, and he wanted to dive into comedy. He's like, yeah, I'll do that for $50,000.
Wow. Did he get to keep the scooter?
I
or
hope
the,
he got some
moped?
serious royalties there.
I don't think he did get royalties.
Wow.
Yeah.
And wait a minute, he was excluded from the second one, right? Wasn't it different?
No. They did a garbage one that they weren't involved in. But
is that what it was?
They did another one in 2014 with the Farrelly brothers. So yeah, and that one was okay.
By the way, the cable guy, 55% Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, it just wasn't great.
I don't think I even saw it.
It was just way too weird.
Right.
So we were talking a little bit before about how inflation seems to be impacting sales at a number of different places, but the Massachusetts Association of Retailers came out with their numbers for the holiday season and showed that the dollar amount that customers spent in Massachusetts for these retailers increased by only 1.2% for the 2022 holiday season.
Which is bad when you factor in
terrible.
inflation because
that effectively means that you bought 7% less stuff.
Right.
The Retailers Association, I think, trying to put some positive spin on this, but the average annual increase, even without inflation, is 4%. So if you're seeing 1.7 in a year when you're averaging 7, 8, 9% inflation, then this is particularly bad. Now, they did say that dollar sales on average across 2022 increased by 5.4% on average.
So that's good. So people are spreading out their shopping a little bit more.
Perhaps it's getting spread out, but I'll tell you, that holiday shopping season is relied on pretty heavily, and to see that only increase by 1% is got to be a bit of a letdown. We'll see how this spreads out across. We'll be hearing from all the retailers on their quarterly profit calls over the next few weeks and months here, and so we'll be hearing from them. I do wonder if this is. I don't suspect that this is anything Massachusetts specific. I suspect that this is indicative of the entire country.
Now I wonder let's say an Amazon has a warehouse in Massachusetts.
They
probably do not
count
that in. Right.
It's the Retail Association of Massachusetts.
Okay, so you have
I
to be a
suspect that it's smaller companies on average.
Right.
But you could have some big ones like BJ's Wholesale Club might be part of it.
Sure, yeah.
We will see if that holds true with others. Folks, if you are spending this most recent surprise weekend of snow thinking about getting away and becoming a snowbird for this time of year, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan in order to make that happen. This is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you're getting ready to retire, maybe you're already there, and you're thinking about taking a closer look at spending part of your year elsewhere, it's important to really evaluate your current income sources, expenses, and figure out if there is actually room in the budget to make this happen, and make it happen sustainably. While you're snowbirding, you can't really forget about the costs that go towards maintaining your primary residence, especially up here. You're talking about significant heating costs, plowing costs, all sorts of things that go into it, and they can add up. If you want to get a copy of our brand new guide on whether or not you can afford to snowbird, you can call our office at 800-393-4001. Again, that number is 800-393-4001. The name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird? You can also request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services.
Another company that looks like it is on its way out here in the United States, TikTok, is trying to win allies in the United States with more transparency. So TikTok, owned by Chinese parent company ByteDance, has been facing a lot of accusations from some journalists, but a lot of governments from national level to the local level on how they use their information. And a few examples here. There was a lot of scrutiny on TikTok after it had an internal probe that found that TikTok employees were misusing their authority to access the data of journalists on the platform, trying to identify leaks of company information. I'm sure that Facebook and others have done this too, but when it's a Chinese company, it's going to be scrutinized more. But I think here's the real concern is this is a platform, whether they abuse the data or not, that has the capability to track who you are, what sort of things you look at, and where you are, geolocation precise data at any given point in time. And so it is that potential for abuse that I think rightly should have all of us concerned.
Well, I think on top of that, it's the ability to influence things, right? So on top of what you just stated, Mike, in 2020, the other thing that was noticed was that videos from certain creators related to the presidential election, they were dropping off the platform. So, if they didn't like what you were saying, they dropped you off. So now here you have this foreign power that is being more influential in the election. So there just seems to be one thing after another after another. Now, what TikTok or ByteDance is attempting to do is they're rolling out this plan. It's costing them about $1.5 billion. So we're pretty important to this company's bottom line.
No doubt.
And basically this plan is saying, okay, we'll form a task force where you can oversee our code or our algorithms that go into this. Everything that we do is going to be run through Oracle instead of just housed on mainland China. So, they're trying to keep this alive. I think
that might solve the problem that you discussed, right? That might allow independent auditors to go in and see, okay, how are you regulating content on the platform? What are you censoring? What are you not? I don't think it prevents the concern that I have, which would be the Chinese Communist Party, who, by the way, recently bought what's referred to as golden shares in parent company ByteDance, affords them a board seat, a lot more, a bigger role. This was reported by the Financial Times, I think. Let's see. I don't have the exact January 13th, January 12th. So very recently, China, the Communist Party there has gone forward and purchased golden shares in a lot of big Alibaba, Tencent. ByteDance is not the only one, but these golden shares are very expensive shares that give the holder a voice on the board.
Okay.
And my concern is that whether the server is held by Oracle in the United States or exclusively in mainland China, what it doesn't prevent is the Chinese Communist Party from ordering that company to say, give us all the data on there because we want to use it for this, that, or the other purpose.
And they
we
probably
want to know the geolocation of these three nuclear physicists, families' whereabouts at all times.
Well, yeah, right, because, the federal government had said, hey, we will not allow federal employees to have TikTok, but like you say, well, maybe
that's not where China's espionage has really focused.
Daughter,
Yeah, so there's that, and let's also talk about the biggest part about China's espionage that has been focused on. It's corporate espionage.
Oh, sure.
It's what's the next big technology that's going to disrupt the entire world? We want to be first on it. Who's working for ChatGPT and OpenAI right now? Right. We want to be able to track the location of these people and be able to sneak bribes over. That is the type of thing that I don't think you have any real means of protecting and preventing without a full-on ban of TikTok or a full-on sale of TikTok.
So, all right. I mean, well, what if TikTok wasn't Chinese, right? What if it was, I don't know, German, right? We're not really in some sort of trade war with Germany, but would that be any more comforting to this country?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there are degrees of comfortability.
But, I mean, I guess
I'd be more comfortable if it was U.S. domiciled.
Well, I guess my point is, this information from a corporate espionage perspective.
Yep.
It could be useful by many different countries.
Oh,
right?
certainly.
So what are other technologies out there that are being used or can be used in this very similar fashion?
Yeah. I probably still wouldn't be comfortable with it on, government employee devices. but it would certainly make me more comfortable than the data going to China's Communist Party.
Well, I'd like to think that there are not a lot of other technologies that are prone to similar abuses. Like, now you start to think about it, right? Well, what if there are, computer chips that are being put in your car, right, that are being tracked in some way, or other, technological devices? TikTok is certainly the easiest. Yeah, I guess so. TikTok is certainly the easiest because they have to disclose it on your Apple iPhone that, hey, we're tracking your geolocation. So to me, it's the lowest hanging fruit, but certainly there are other opportunities. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, a little stack roulette here on the Financial Exchange.
Find daily interviews and full shows of the Financial Exchange on our YouTube page. Get caught up on anything and everything you might have missed. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. The United States Virgin Islands are St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John, and they are the perfect place for your next vacation. From the moment you arrive, you'll find yourself falling naturally in rhythm with the heartbeat of the islands. Because with perfect weather and year-round temperatures of 75 degrees, relaxation is at its finest. Enjoy their spectacular beaches, world-famous cuisine, golf, tennis, and a wide variety of water sports. The U.S. Virgin Islands is one of the most popular vacation spots in the Caribbean. So head to visitusvi.com and explore their wide variety of travel packages today. There's no money to exchange, no passport required, and best of all, no more domestic travel restrictions to enter. Paradise awaits you. Go to visitusvi.com for more information and to book your trip today. Come to America's Caribbean paradise. Visit usvi.com. That's visitusvi.com.
If you're thinking of becoming a snowbird, you'll need to put together a strong financial plan to make it happen. Hi, this is Mike Armstrong from the Armstrong Advisory Group, and if you are getting ready to retire or already there, it's important to take a closer look at your current income sources and expenses if you're trying to determine whether there's room in your budget to snowbird and remain as financially comfortable as possible. Even while you're snowbirding, you can't forget your permanent home because your overall costs can add up and you might find yourself in a difficult position when it comes to your expenses. If you'd like a copy of our brand new guide called Can You Afford to Snowbird? You can call us right now at 800-393-4001. Again, the name of the guide is Can You Afford to Snowbird? And it's available at 800-393-4001, or you can request it online from our website, armstrongadvisory.com.
The proceeding was paid for by Armstrong Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Nothing in the ad or in any Armstrong guide is specific financial, legal, or tax advice. Consult your own financial, tax, and estate planning advisors before making any investment decisions. Armstrong may contact you to offer investment advisory services. An extended nursing home stay could deplete your savings in months if you're not prepared. According to Genworth, New England residents could see yearly costs of more than $200,000 by 2030. So if you haven't done your planning yet, now is the time to call Cushing & Dolan. They're experts in estate planning and asset protection, which is critical if you want to enjoy your retirement years. Get their new free guide called Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. Learn about the steps you need to take to protect yourself, your family, and your assets from these high costs. If you or a loved one might need a nursing home, don't delay. Call Cushing & Dolan today at 866-848-5699 and ask for their new guide, Long-Term Care Planning for Procrastinators. That's 866-848-5699. Or you can request the guide online by visiting LegalExchangeShow.com. The proceeding was paid for and the views expressed are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Cushing & Dolan and or Armstrong Advisory may contact you offering legal or investment services. Cushing & Dolan and Armstrong Advisory do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.
Veterans benefits just got a whole lot better. Whether you're about to leave the service or you've been out for decades, the PACT Act gives eligibility for VA benefits to thousands of veterans. The PACT Act is a new law that expands benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. To learn more, visit va.gov/PACT or call 1-800-MY-VA-411. If you or a loved one served this country, it's time to get the benefits you deserve.
For 40 years, Cancer Support Community has been a relentless ally for anyone impacted by cancer, with free services provided online and in person, with their newest location in Massachusetts. Connect with Cancer Support Community Massachusetts for free emotional support, educational resources, patient navigation, financial counseling, and more. 617-797-3391. CancerSupportMass.org. CancerSupportMass.org.
Miss any of the show? You can catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
The Financial Exchange is a proud partner of the Disabled American Veterans Department of Massachusetts. Former New England Patriots VP and Chief Marketing Officer Lou Imbrugno has generously donated his official Super Bowl... I suck at Roman numerals. His official Super Bowl championship ring to raise funds for veteran-related programs. Every dollar raised through a special raffle will go directly to veterans. Imbrugno has teamed up with the Swim with a Mission, or SWAM, to organize the raffle and raise funds. The goal is to sell 1,000 tickets at $100 apiece, raising $100,000 for veterans. The winner of the ring will be drawn Super Bowl weekend in February, and tickets for that can be purchased at www.swam.org. So nice Super Bowl ring there.
I'm going to start us off here with the state of daycare in Massachusetts, which we have talked about before, but not for a while. So data that I have going back to 2021 found that the average cost for infant care in the state of Massachusetts came to $20,913.
Wow.
The highest in the entire country. Anybody who has a child in one of these systems also knows that the prices have been going up since that data was put out there. This is data from October of 2021, so I know that cost of care has gone up. Likewise, the average pay that I'm looking at, which was also updated in 2021 for a child care worker in Massachusetts, was $14.98 per hour. I know that data is outdated because that is currently below the Massachusetts minimum wage. These child care providers have been closing their doors at an alarming pace. In 2022 alone, you had a net loss. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the state has had a net loss of more than 500 child care centers, basically reducing 2,300 licensed slots. And that is with the state providing $574 million in monthly grants that have been awarded to Massachusetts providers since July of 2021. There's another 750 providers who are claiming that they will need to close their doors if that funding drops off. This is not a system that's working, and I don't have the perfect solution.
Right.
There have been folks that have pointed to the fact that we have the lowest requirement of teacher to student ratios in the country, that same standard applies to care centers across several other states in the country that have far cheaper child care costs than Massachusetts does. I don't have the perfect answer here, but they can't attract workers because guess what? You might love kids to the end of the earth, but you're not going to do it for less than you can get paid by working at McDonald's. And likewise, these child care centers with massive real estate costs in Massachusetts just can't afford to provide the care at an affordable means. So it's a real problem for anybody out there. I mean, I pay an ungodly sum of money for childcare. I'm very happy that I'm able to do so, but there are a lot of families where it's just not economically feasible to raise a child.
And we wonder why, the participation rate is gotten lower. Right?
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of now you're just
you got to pay $20,000 a year to put your kid into a daycare center. I mean, no wonder you're going to stay at home and not go do that. You have to be reasonably speaking, right? If you have two children, which is probably what's the average birth rate? 2.2 in our country. So you got two kids in the state of Massachusetts. It does not make sense for you to be working if you're earning less than $70,000 a year.
Right.
Between taxes and everything, commute costs, everything else. If I'm going to be paying $20,000 a kid to send them to childcare, how can I hold down a job on a reasonable salary?
Right, particularly in this day and age where there's a lot of illnesses going around. Right, we know you're going to end up having to stay home for half the days because you're going to take care of your kid anyway.
Whew. Yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow.
One. I don't know what the solution is there. All right, AI chat bots. When I first heard about these AI chatbots, certainly the one thing I thought about was man, if you are a classroom professor or teacher, like how do you battle that? So what these chat bots do is basically you put in a few bits of information and tell it you want to create a paper on X, Y, and Z subject, and it will do it for you, and it will do it for you really well. I didn't really know what the solution was, but the solution these professors have come up with is actually pretty good, Mike. When I start to think about some of the things that these professors are doing, they're saying, hey, we're not going to just allow any more take-home open book assignments. We're going to make the students do in-person
writing,
right? Or first draft. And if you change your draft, well, we're going to want to know why you change your draft. We're going to talk about how we're going to have you do these chatbots, but then have you dissect the chatbot.
I think that's the key. You have to incorporate. You can try your hardest to ban it. It's not going to work. Right? I mean, I think that's become clear, is that any detection software you can roll out, any of that stuff is going to be inadequate. You need to teach alongside this type of technology, because not only is it going to be difficult to detect, but it's going to change the education requirements in the first place of what it means to be a writer. So it has to be taught alongside it, and I think it's going to take a long time to evolve the learning process.
Yeah, but it could be for the better, right? When I see these resolutions, I think it might be making us kick our game up a notch.
Markets are largely off. Dow off a full percentage point. S&P off about a tenth of percentage point. NASDAQ basically flat. We'll be covering all the markets and more earnings calls tomorrow on the Financial Exchange.
If you buy a new property, could you continue